So let's talk about for sale by owners, FSBOs as we call them in the industry, and mere postings or versus mere postings, because it's a tight inventory market. We're going to see a lot more of people trying to sell on their own or utilizing services where they can just sort of list the property on MLS, because that's all you need to do, right? It's just like magic. You put it on MLS and it sells. We all know that's not the case, and it's about strategic pricing, about setting it up for success, having the property easily accessible, have it show well, have it depersonalized, and know who your target audience is for that property, as well as pre-promotion. But what do you do when you run into these situations where you have a buyer and it's for sale by owner versus when it's mere posting? So I'll cover mere posting first. So a mere posting is where they've utilized a company that's a registered brokerage and they've put that property on the MLS, but that service agreement is what's called a mere posting. So it means that they don't provide them all the other services that we typically do in the real estate industry. They are just paying that company to put it on the MLS for them. Now, the distinctive thing is representation. So you have to ask the seller, because you'll be dealing with the seller directly, if they are engaging in representation with that company, because some of the various companies offer that as like an add-on service if they want negotiation assistance or things like that, or if you're going to be dealing with them directly. So in the negotiation perspective, you then have to find out who that is and be communicating through that other agent or email that's on the listing. But in most cases, read the private remarks on these, and they'll say kind of upfront how they intend to negotiate. The main key is prepping your buyer that this is not going to go as smoothly as it normally would, likely because the person's not a professional at what they're doing. They're a seller, and they do this on random occasion. You see a lot of builders doing it. Sometimes that's a little better, I guess, but make sure you do a CMA and not just go off list price, because often mere postings are more aggressively priced than stuff that's fully represented. So what I'll add is the paperwork and the terms. So when you do a mere posting buyer offer, we recommend that you write in your commission term to fulfill your obligation under the buyer brokerage agreement, and I'll put that term wording below, plus we have it available if you ever need it, just ask. So adding that into the terms section, that the seller will direct their lawyer to pay RE/MAX River City X percentage for the buyer to fulfill their obligations under their buyer brokerage agreement. Now, what happens if it's different than what you'd contract in the buyer brokerage agreement? You can either, as per the buyer brokerage agreement, the buyer can either top that up and pay that as part of their closing costs, or they can you can look at doing an amendment to your buyer brokerage agreement or a fee disclosure to have your client acknowledge that what you're getting paid is different than what they contracted you to pay you. Okay, so that's mere postings. What about for sale by owners? So for sale by owner is just that. It's an owner that's selling their own property. They can do this legally because they're the owner. There's no license required. The license is required because we're doing it on behalf of a third party. So again, prep your buyer, know kind of what you're stepping into, and do comparables. You're going to have to do a lot more due diligence on a seller like that. So I would upfront ask them for a recent copy of title. If they don't have it, you should pull title before you even write the offer. We recommend doing FinTrack. So technically, you need to do FinTrack to verify both their identity and that they are who they say they are, and their ID matches, and that they're not trying to sell a property out from someone else that they don't own. We've seen that in the news and the properties in Toronto that got sold out from under the owners in a scam and a fraud scam, as well as most common is like a tenant, usually not of right mind, but trying to sell the property thinking it's theirs. So do that ID verification, and then you have two options. So you can use a seller customer status and fee agreement, or you can do an exclusive listing, non-MLS, with them. Now the challenge with that is you're already an agency with your buyer, assumably. So if this is a buyer brokerage signed buyer, we recommend doing seller customer status and fee agreement. You don't owe them the same responsibilities. You provide them with this, if they ask, for the same information that you did the CMA, but you don't have to give them any advice. That's the definitive line, is you don't have to provide advice, you're just providing information if they want that to make an informed choice. So that covers the paperwork. It's basically consumer relationship like always. You have to explain agency. It's the first step of every client interaction. Then you can do seller, customer status and fee agreement, and FinTrack. Those three, and you're covered with a for sale by owner seller. And the distinctive difference where it's a mere posting is you're just covering the commission component because they are represented in a basic fiduciary responsibility way to with the mere posting. They have an agreement. There's an area form that's a mere posting seller rep, basically. And so you don't have to do seller customer status and fee agreement. But if you do, or you want to double down and just clarify that relationship, you could do that. It's not mandatory, but I wouldn't discourage anyone from doing that to help really clarify that relationship with those type of sellers. So hopefully that helps. And as always, comment below. Let us know if you have other questions on that. That's what broker support's here for, to help you when specific situations come up.